Hello there, my name is Arthur, and today I want to chat with you about the reporting available to DNSFilter customers. Conveniently, we keep our reports under this handy Reporting section on the left-hand side of the application here. As you can see, we do have a number of different reporting options available, but I want to go back to where it all began, to the primordial ooze of DNSFilter reporting, if you will. And that, my friends, is the DNS query log. Now, you'll be shocked to learn that something called the DNS query log is literally a log of all the DNS queries that we process on behalf of your protected users and devices. It's mind-blowing, right? Now, if all you're looking for is raw query data, this dashboard is your ultimate source of truth. I like to say that it's real-time-ish, as it's generally showing you results from 60 to 90 seconds behind now while you're looking at it. When we first load the log itself, it's going to show us the last 15 minutes of queries from all of your users with no additional filtering applied. You can see that the basic information we display here, like the date, the time, the fully qualified domain name that we processed, the result, aka was it allowed or was it blocked, what categories the domain is part of, if it happens to be attached to any appware applications that we monitor, and if so, which ones, what the deployment or hostname is, if the device is running a roaming client, and what the local username is if we're able to obtain it. As well, you'll see which resolver pair the request was handled by and which policy was applied to the request. Now, this seems like a lot of information, but you haven't seen anything yet. If we click on Preferences, you're able to tweak the layout of the columns, and as well, you can show an additional 14 pieces of metadata about the individual queries. We have what we consider the most important columns pre-selected as visible, but I'm not the boss of you, so if you'd like to see more data, who am I to argue? If you'd like to get a bit more granular in what you're looking at, you do have the ability to specify a set of custom filters in order to narrow down the information that you're seeing. If we click up here in Additional Filters in the upper left, we'll see that we already have the date range of the last 15 minutes set as a filter, as well as a particular site or network that you have configured. If we click Add Filter, we'll start to add multiple lines for criteria that we can use to narrow our search scope by, such as a specific domain or hostname, or even entries with a domain that match part of a string, whether or not the domain was allowed or blocked, what categories the domain is part of, which particular device made the request, what type of DNS filter deployment made the request, which you can check out my video on deployment options if I'm speaking a foreign language right now, and as well, which particular user made the request or which particular group of users made the request. You can use none, some, or all of these filter criteria. Obviously, the more that you use, the tighter your focus can be, but I definitely recommend by filtering by at least a date range to keep your scope and load times manageable. From here, you can also click the Export button in the upper right and request an export of the data with your current filter set applied, and you'll get an email shortly thereafter with a link to download all the applicable results as a CSV file. This export will include all the metadata columns, regardless of whether or not you have them enabled for this particular view. You can also have automatic data export added to your plan to push these logs to an external storage location like an S3 bucket or to your SIM of choice. You'll have to talk to your account representative to handle that. Depending on your plan, you have access to up to 3, 6, or 9 days of historical data via this query log view. Now, because everything you need is right here, this wraps up my discussion of DNSFilter reporting. I appreciate you taking the time to watch, and I'll see you in the next video. Just kidding. We have a number of other areas that you can use to view this data in a very specific way. Now let's go down through them. At the top of our list here is what we call our Insights reporting. Insights is designed to give you a much more generalized or rolled up longer-term view of the traffic data rather than the granular individual queries from moment to moment. You can see here that we default to showing you the data from today in a much more summarized fashion. We had this many queries, this many were allowed versus this many blocked. This is how many of those that were threats. You have your most active sites or networks here at the top with those stats as well, and then a line graph of those data points if you're a more visual learner. The middle section of the page is going to show you your top 5 domains that we've seen requests for, and the top 5 categories that domains we've seen requests for fall into. This is a good cliff notes on what's going on the most frequently on your networks, and it may help you illustrate some trends or items of concern. If you wanted to drill down into the specific domains being hit for one or more of your top categories, you can click directly on the list item here to be taken to a roll-up page for that category for the same time span. The lower section of your Insights page gives you some generalized roll-up data about your networks, your devices, and the queries per second that we're seeing from across your organization. This being a demo environment, there's a lot of zeros, but your environment should reflect your actual usage and enrollment. Depending on your subscription tier, the Insights page can encompass up to 30, 60, or 90 days of data. Next on our list is App-Aware reporting. This page is very similar to the general Insights page that we just went over, but instead of being tied to specific domains for the roll-up data, it's tied to the specific App-Aware applications that we monitor. You can see the same friendly graph showing traffic trends for the selected time span, and then the individual request counts tied to each app or ecosystem that we've detected. Of course, we've already looked at the DNS query log, so we'll skip to the Scheduled Reports tab. This is where you can configure an automated summary report to be sent to specific folks on a bi-weekly basis. The report itself looks like this and gives you a good snapshot of the activity on your network for the period. We're going to jump over Data Explorer to the remainder of the items, but we will come back to it, I promise. Total requests will show you exactly what you think it will, a bar graph of the request counts for the segments of your chosen time period. You can also filter between different traffic sources if you don't want to see all of them stacked together, like they are by default. A lot like total requests, queries per second gives you a graph of the queries per second that we're seeing for segments of your chosen time period, aka how many DNS requests per second that we're receiving from all the devices and networks within your organization. Most active sites is a pie chart and a list of your configured network sites based on the number of queries we've seen from any given site versus the total number of queries that we've processed as a whole. Top requests gives you a clean pie chart view of your categories and domains for each specific network site, as well as the ability to filter down based on the specific source of traffic and whether it's specifically allowed or blocked. Threats gives you a similar view to the top request page, but is specifically showing you domains that have been tagged with the threat category labels. The Alerts section will allow you to configure a weekly alert report to be sent to all your admins or email addresses that you specify, and it gives you a simple roll-up of your weekly activity. It looks similar to this and is just a great way to know that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing on a regular basis. Now, if we head back to the Data Explorer section, Data Explorer lets you look at all of the data that we've talked about in a more interactive way. You can drill down by a particular network site, a particular category, a domain, a device, or a user group or collection. And then from there, you can drill down even further by another one of those filters, and then you can drill down again, etc., etc. It's data all the way down, baby. Now, this is a great way to get a slightly more click-friendly deep dive into the queries that your networks are processing without having to work with your massive query log. All of these options are available to DNSFilter subscribers directly from the dashboard. I hope that this video has been enlightening, or at least I hope you laughed at least once. As always, I remain Arthur, and I'll see you in the next video.